Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the FAQ webinar for Fiscal-related items. My name is Anella Freeman. I am an instructor here at Cal PCA.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eli. I am an instructor as well with California Contract and Procurement Academy. We're located in the Department of General Services here in West Sacramento in the Ziggurat building. We are going to be covering a few things today. Hopefully you will be gaining some level of knowledge about something you didn't already have before in terms of Fiscal.
Yes, and just, we've been doing these webinars for a few months, so we hope that you have gained some knowledge, some information, some tidbits, things to note as you operate within Fiscal. Unfortunately, this is our last webinar offering.
Yes. Well, I think we've got a couple later today. I think the last class of the day is at 3. It's going to be CSCR, so if you haven't already done that, please register for that class. But yes, today is the last day.
Yes.
We've done so many.
We have.
It's been so wonderful.
Yes. A few housekeeping items. So on your right hand side in your control panel, and if the control panel was auto minimized, just click that red arrow. You should see a icon or a page for handouts. We have 3 handouts today. One is we're going to be discussing is a bulletin that went out about skippers.
Ooh.
The other one.
She says we. It's really going to be you.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one is our calendar, which I know today's the last day, but
so it's going to be heaps useful. But it is a good way to register if you haven't taken the CSCR course already. That is the best spot to find the registration link. You basically download that PDF, click on the class, and it'll open up the registration
And
page.
that one's really, Eli gives it's at 3. I think if you haven't taken it, you might want to just take it. Also, there is a information and resources handout, and that will be containing links. It'll have website addresses, it'll have office contacts, all of those things that should help you as you operate within Fiscal. Knowing who to contact sometimes is half the battle to get help. We want to make sure that you have all of the information accessible to you, but also know where to go for that information. So feel free to use those contacts, those resources as much as you need to get the information.
Absolutely. So, obviously as we go through, when it comes to webinars, there's going to be some network concerns and glitches.
Correct.
We've gone through since early December of last year, trying to make sure that we repeat every session that we provide, so as we can give as many people the opportunity to retake the class should something come up. So if you're having trouble, check your settings and sound. You should be able to at least see us according to our webinar software here, as well as hear us. But if you are having issues or concerns, we will be continuing classes moving forward. There will be this kind of a Friday session moving forward, and we'll try a few different approaches, a few different formats to get you the information that you need. So,
and really our goal with these FAQ sessions, Fiscal Fridays, we want to build a buyer's community. We want to make sure that there's a format for us to share information with you, but for also you to share information with all of your fellow buyers out there, whether they're within your department or from other departments. If you come to Cal PCA classes, which we'll be rolling out in the near future, so stay tuned for those details. You're going to be amongst buyers and people from all other departments. So please please make sure that you're joining us. Give us one moment. Again, we want to call out the Handouts tab on your right-hand side. You should see 3 of them. They include a information and resources handout that's going to be very beneficial with office contact information, with website links, phone numbers, email addresses. That's going to be really handy as you continue forth. The other one is the calendar. Now today is the last day for our webinar offering. So if you haven't yet taken the CSCR webinar, there is one being offered at 3. I highly recommend you take them. Take that if you haven't already. You might find the information a bit helpful to operate within Fiscal. The third handout is a bulletin that went on about skippers, so we'll be discussing that later on in this particular session. If you haven't had a chance to read that email, download that bulletin. We're going to be discussing that today. Again, the goal for these Fiscal Fridays, FAQ sessions, we're going to be moving towards saying Fiduciary Fridays, is really to build that buyer's community. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to information share, as well as to get information to make your jobs easier. We want to provide information. We want to make sure everyone's getting the resources and information that they need to do their jobs well. So that was a synopsis. Please do not feel like you've missed out on any information. We apologize for the network difficulties. Hopefully everyone's able to hear us and follow along with us.
Yeah, it doesn't usually happen.
Technology, what are you going to do?
So look, obviously, with it being the last day for Fiscal-related webinars, that doesn't mean it's the last day for us to be teaching classes. It just means it's the last day of Fiscal-related webinars.
Definitely.
So, if you haven't already done the CSCR course, I believe that's at 3. I think the other class we have today is actually for the suppliers. That's some of the things we've been doing over the last couple of months, is actually educating the public on how to use Cal FAQs, which is the public portal for Fiscal.
Which we hope helps you, because when they understand and can navigate on their end, that helps you work with them, that helps you get your bids. So it's a win-win situation, right?
Yes, exactly. So obviously we're mindful that the need for the Fiscal trainings that we're providing by our webinar right now is not going to go away. You're going to have new staff. You're going to want to be able to access this information at a later date as well. Yep. So one of the things we're going to be doing is trying to create something like a training video, posting that probably on the Cal FAQs page.
Yes.
There may be some other available methods to source that information, some channels to source that information without giving away too much.
Yes.
But also the UPKs, the User Productivity Kits on the Fiscal Training Academy, they're not going away.
No.
The job aids and UPKs are somewhat here to stay.
Correct.
So feel free to refer back to those. A lot of the classes that we provide contain, I would say, more than 90% of the contents are derived from screenshots taken from the UPKs. So if you're taking those classes or you haven't yet, one of the biggest things that we keep stressing is to do the UPKs first.
Yes.
They provide you a very good foundation. It's a self-paced, self-guided learning environment where you're not waiting around for other people's questions. You're not having to sit down in the one go. You can stop what you're doing, complete a different task, go back to that training. It's one of the benefits of the UPK environment, that you get to self-direct your learning.
Yes.
It's not mandatory, so it's not required. There's no certificates, but it's benefit to you, so as you can understand what's going on with Fiscal and what those changes are going to mean for you.
And I must add, though, your department may have required you to actually take the UPKs.
Oh, in which case it would be mandated.
Exactly.
Right.
As well as taking our webinars. So while we don't offer certificates for our webinars, I know with Cal PCA classes, you're used to getting a certificate of completion, etc., etc. But
which are very pretty.
Which are very pretty, very helpful. Make some great cubicle art. You know, you can boast that you've taken our classes. But we've set
Is
up.
it really a boast? It's kind of more just an announcement.
It is.
Mm.
But it can become a very, like, you know this stuff because you've taken our classes type
Which is
situation,
good.
which is always great.
That's what we want.
That's what we want. That's why we want you in our classes.
Mm.
But we did set up the GoToWebinar to email you when you a thank you for attending type email.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do need to evidence that you've taken our webinar, you do have that going. As far as the UPKs, follow your departmental guidelines in terms of how you communicate that you've taken the UPKs,
Mm-hmm.
how they want to make sure you've documented that you've taken those. But while the UPKs, in terms of policy, in terms of allowing you to operate within Fiscal, Eli's right, they're not mandatory. But they cover what I like to call the clicks of the system. So they are helpful in knowing where to navigate, knowing where to click, knowing where to attach things, which sometimes as we're getting used to new software, hey, let's face it, even when we get used to, you know, our phones, when we get a new phone, we like to go clicky clicky, tappy tappy, and figure out how to operate it, figure out what goes where. That's what the UPKs help you do. Now our videos hopefully will help enhance that by giving you some tidbits, some things to look out for, some things to keep in mind as you're operating in Fiscal. So our videos are not meant to replace the UPKs or job aids. All of them are there as a resource to help you get used to Fiscal. Now, speaking of UPKs, because it is our last day of offering these webinars, we want to make sure you have other ways to learn more. Like Eli said, we're looking at doing some network videos on some channels, perhaps. Be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, there are those UPKs, like Eli said. The link to access those UPKs are included on the handouts today. The Fiscal Service Center is also an avenue to contact if you do have some functionality issues, if you do have some technical glitches, if things aren't working the way you need them to work.
Like a webinar.
Like a webinar.
Too soon?
I know, too
It's
soon,
possibly too
way
soon.
too soon. But the Service Center is designed and equipped to look at your role mapping, do all the technical clicks and checkies and whatever to make sure your navigations work. We wish we could do that as Cal PCA. Fortunately, we don't have the access to the system to do so. Their phone number and email is listed in your handouts as well, but they're also on this slide. We did have some good suggestions, though, over the course of a couple of weeks when people do email the Fiscal Service Center.
Yeah, so look, the thing is, a lot of us are trying to get into the Fiscal Service Center. Some of us are getting in just fine. Others are not getting anyone to answer the phone, and they're not getting any email responses back. So you send them a question and you're not hearing back from them. That is an issue. One of the things that we have suggested through the last couple of weeks is if you do call in the afternoon. If you're having a technical issue, call just after lunch. Use option 1.
Yes.
Option 1 will get you to the technical difficulties desk, and that should be a live person who will respond. They'll either route you to the person who can help you or help you on the spot, okay, depending on the level of issue that you're experiencing. One of the other things that you might want to sort of consider is the read receipt. When you send them an email,
very helpful.
Put in a read receipt. Kind of keeps people a little bit honest. You know if someone's at least read your email or opened it. We were actually at a Fiscal forum this week, and they were showing us some of the percentages and some of their response times. They are adamant that you should not be waiting more than 4 hours for a response. Yeah. So it's like if it reaches 24, you need to send another email. And if it reaches 48, then something has gone catastrophically wrong.
Yes.
That probably means that there's something else going on. I mean, they're going to have email outages. They're going to have server problems, just the same as you and I do.
And be patient with them. You know, everyone across the state is contacting them for issues, so it may be taking them some time to correct some of the issues that everyone is having. That being said, they were talking at the Fiscal Community Forum about how they are trying to implement systems to truly help you navigate and track the status and where your service request is at. So hopefully that helps you keep on top of what's going on.
Yeah.
Whether your service request is being resolved, it's been forwarded, whatever the case may be. So if you are having some issues, you can email us at the Cal PCA Help Desk. Most likely, if it's technical glitches, functionality issues, we will be diverting you over to the Fiscal Service Center and referring you over there. If it is policy related, though.
Oh,
if it's
policy related questions. Curveball. Interesting.
Yes. If it is policy related, definitely send that in so we can get you an answer. And we're going to touch on some of those things in just a little bit. I wanted to cover, and I know Eli's heard me talk about this a lot, because we want to make sure you have all the resources. Make sure you know where the Fiscal Service Center website is, as well as there's some resources on that right-hand side. Make use of those. There's a great resources, documents, things like that that can help you as well. So you have those accessible. Again, the website link is on your information and resources handout.
All right, so as we move forward through the rest of this morning's format, and I use that word loosely, tidbits. So we've had a lot of questions regarding future functionality. Why doesn't the system do this? When will the system do this? Why can't you make it so that the system does this? You can probably tell from the lack of neckwear that we're not high enough in the food chain to be able to determine what future functionality Fiscal is going to have. We're Cal PCA instructors. We don't actually work with or for Fiscal, so we can't talk to future functionality.
Or what Fiscal may even be looking at in terms of options for future functionality. We don't know if they're going to be testing some functionality. Unfortunately, we don't know what may be in the works. So we say this to say, when it comes to things like the save and continue functionality within Skippers and progress payments, remember there's no save and continue functionality right now. I know you talk a lot about the line item issue in CSCR.
How we're only using a placeholder, we're not listing everything like it would appear in a purchase order.
We don't know if that's going to change. Other suggestions we've gotten through our webinars, great suggestions. We would love things to be automatic, certain things be attached automatically, etc., etc. We can't speak for that, though. You could send in your suggestions to the Fiscal Service Center. Of course, we don't know what they're exploring at this point.
No, and that's at base level, it's just a bunch of zeros and ones. The system that we're using is just software. It's only as smart as we tell it to be.
Correct.
One of the big things with the reason for transitioning away from BidSync is so as the state can control the system a little bit better. We have more of a hands-on controlling approach this time. And with Fiscal, they're making it so that the software can easily be updated.
Correct.
So all of these customizations that you're referring to, when you suggest some of these changes and functionalities to us, we agree with it. It'd be great if that is how the system worked. But unfortunately, they're most likely not going to make certain changes because it would refine the system to the point where no one can work on it. They want the system to be updatable and maintainable. And if we start customizing a little too far, and this is the line that we've talked. I mean, I haven't really swallowed that Kool-Aid, but that is definitely the Fiscal hard line when it comes to why doesn't the system do this. We had a great thing this week where someone's like, okay, well, based on the acquisition method, when I'm choosing an acquisition method, why doesn't it automatically put in the appropriate terms and conditions or general provisions or whatever? It would be fantastic. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it.
And here's one of the overarching things we have to remember. Fiscal is just a system. It's just that, a system. It's not designed to know the SCM. It's not designed to know your departmental policies. So there may be functionality that would be great, but that would imply that the system would need to know certain things that cannot be programmed within the system. Absolutely. So keep that in mind as we're operating. Fiscal is just that system. Eli says it, I say it in my webinars. it's going to put up little to no hard stops, red stops, whatever you like to call them, warnings, whatever, when you're doing something wrong. And why? Because it doesn't know the SCM, the State Contracting Manual. That's our responsibility as buyers, right? It doesn't know your departmental policies. That's our responsibility as buyers. So really, it goes back to policy, policy, policy. So when in doubt, we're always going to have to refer you back to your policies, because the system, we've seen it, will sometimes allow you to do something that we would never do in state procurement. We know that policy, whether it's a state contracting manual, codes and regulations, or your department's policies, we know that that will not allow us to do it. So we need to be operating within Fiscal with that kind of not understanding, but kind of framework within our brain, right? It's just that system. So keep that in mind as we're navigating, as we're operating, and as we're telling you these tidbits. I like to say too, because the system may allow you to do something, or the system doesn't do something, your department may have revised their own policies as well. So keep that in mind and refresh yourself to make sure you know of any departmental changes that have taken place because of Fiscal. I talk about in my skippers, there is no EP number that comes out. I know it took a lot of time for people to get used to that, but your department may have changed their documentation policies to make sure that you're documenting your file right, to make sure that you're recording that registration. And I see Kimberly there, so it looks like we might have a question.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Kimberly. I'm an instructor here with Cal FAQs also. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier, so I wasn't actually introduced. But I do want you to know that the questions are there. The questions tab is there. You can send in your questions, and I'll have them addressed on camera if possible. But I do have a question. It's actually for Eli.
Okay.
The question is, when creating CSCR, by clicking public and invite bidders, what is the difference?
Okay, so when we're dealing with a CSCR, for those of us that haven't yet either done CSCR or taken the class, when you're dealing with a CSCR, you pretty much set up a framework. You have some fundamental information that's required by the system, things like acquisition type, method, billing code, your advertising dates, an event name, and a description. Then you're going into line items. You put in a placeholder line item just saying, hey everyone, read my attachments and comments. You attach your comments, you upload all your attachments, all that solicitation packet that we're expected to use already. And then it comes down to whether we invite bidders or whether we make the event public. Now, posting to CSCR is a checkbox at the top when we go to the invite bidders page. That needs to remain checked. Okay, that means that your event will actually post on the register. Now that doesn't mean that it's automatically public for everyone to view.
Right.
You have to make that determination.
Right, right.
If you click on the public event checkbox, it makes it so as anyone can see it. They don't need to log in, they don't need to provide details, they can just go straight to the Cal Procure page and access your event, as long as you've hit public. When you hit that public event checkbox, the system will refresh, and under the bidder invitation list it'll say, this is a public event. Now if that line is not there, it won't post publicly. It'll still post to CSCR. It'll still be available to bidders if you invite them, but it won't be public. Now at the bottom of the bidder invitation table, that bidder invitation list, there's a search for bidders text link. Oh, it's not really a button, it's just a text link. And you can search for individual bidders, find a bidder that you want to invite individually, and add them in. When it populates that first bidder to the invitation list, you should see that search for bidders link again, and you click on that, it opens up the search window. So you can keep on adding individual bidders. Now, if you do not make it a public event, it should not be viewable. Now, if I had a look at the question that came in that Kimberly was dealing with for us. It sounds like if you are experiencing that you're individually assigning bidders to a particular event, but you're not making it a public event, and then you're going into Cal Procure and looking to see whether your event is posted and it's now visible to you. Now that is a function that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
The whole point of making it public or not making it public is that you're using CSCR to advertise to individual bidders, to the public, or a combination of both approaches.
Right, right.
So if you're seeing your event and you're not making it public, go back into your event within the Fiscal system. If you're going into Cal Procure and seeing it and you're thinking, I didn't make it public, go back into the Fiscal system, review your event and make sure that that line item, this is a public event, is not there.
But you could do both, right? You can
can
make
do
it
both.
both
You can
public
totally do
as
both.
well as invite bidders.
Exactly. And for a lot of us, I know with my experience, that's not going to be a problem.
Right.
You know, there's very few times where you don't want to advertise to everybody, as well as individual bidders.
Right.
But if that's the sort of system issue that you're seeing, you do want to contact the service center and try and make sure that they're aware of that functionality.
Yes.
Because the way Fiscal has explained it to us, and so thus how we're explaining it to you, is that if you make it public, it's public. It's completely
out there for the wide
transparent
world.
to everybody.
Yeah.
And if you invite specific bidders, the system will email those specific bidders.
Correct.
If you only do one or the other, it's not supposed to do both. You see what I'm saying? If you only invite bidders, it shouldn't be making it public.
Right, right. And that being said, you know, just these are the little things that we have to get used to. Again, we want competition. The state thrives on that. So the goal really is to make sure we get those bids for our event, whether it's making it both public as well as making sure that the bidders that we know are always responsive, that can provide the product, are also specifically invited. You know, make sure that you're doing what you need to do to get that competition and to get those bids that you need to make a successful event.
Yeah, responsible and responsive, right? Those are the keys.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we get enough of those in for whatever method we've chosen so as we can actually make an award.
And doesn't policy say that?
I'm pretty sure policy does say
I'm
that.
pretty sure policy says that too.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Where would someone find out about that kind of policy?
This is where we get to talk about what we do at Cal PCA.
We can talk about me. We're talking about me now.
Talking about us. Yes, we are. So we are going to roll out with our traditional classes. I know it's been about 14 months, if not a little bit longer, since everyone has been awaiting our classes to restart. Now that the Fiscal webinars will be ending, we will be focused on providing tears. We will be providing the classes that you all know and love and are trying to get into. We've gotten your emails about that. We understand your need for the training, whether it's your new staff, whether you're new and you want the training, or whether you've come into our classes before and you just want a refresher. I've always said getting used to a new system like Fiscal is a great opportunity to refresh ourselves because, again, the system will allow us to do things that we shouldn't do. And just
Always said is a stretch. You have said it, but
have
always
said it.
said is a stretch.
Yeah, okay.
All
I've
right.
said it.
Either way, great opportunity to
It
refresh.
is.
Great opportunity.
So what I highly recommend is going to your student profile and clicking the View Edit Subscriptions tab.
This is the student profile where?
At the training registration system via DGS.
Just in case I wasn't listening to you on that one.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you just, yeah, I know. This will give you the opportunity for all the classes you think you need, you might want to take a look at, you may be interested in taking. You can click those. Whenever we start offering and opening up that class for registration, you will receive an email notification. Now, your department firewalls may delay that email notification, but you will receive it. So what I would highly suggest is not only subscribing, but checking our website every now and then, especially because we're going to start rolling them out. So we expect that the first couple offerings of our classes will get filled up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Cal PCA's policy is there are no wait lists. So if you have some struggles getting the email notification, If there's a firewall in the way that's
Yeah.
slowing down your emails coming in, you may be constantly a bridesmaid in that respect. Now, one of the ways to overcome that is just to periodically check in with a TRS manually.
Yes.
So rather than wait for that email, once a week or whatever, in some
Yes.
downtime, should you ever have any, maybe.
Maybe.
Then go into the TRS and look at the classes that you
Yes.
actually want, see if there's something that has already been posted. Because unfortunately, we have heard of our automatically generated registration system email being filtered, or just not making it through the firewall,
Yeah.
or delayed. Delayed is the most common one, that it gets delayed,
Yeah.
and by the time you actually get into that link, the class is filled up.
Definitely.
So we'll take a pause here because it looks like Kimberly's got another question
Yes.
for us.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hello, Eli and Anella. So we have another question. It is, can triggers in Fiscal be created to push you towards SCM policies? Triggers like object codes or dollar amounts, etc.
No,
Great question for a start. Wonderful question.
Great question.
Again, it speaks to functionality,
Correct.
and unfortunately, Fiscal has already said that they will not put those kind of triggers and
Yeah.
filters in. Now, I personally think it'd be great. As soon as you go
Agreed.
over a certain dollar amount, so
Agreed.
for instance, you type in that your value is $5,001, then
Right.
fair and reasonable drops off from your available methods to you. Something
Right.
as simple as that, where if then situations, it's just not going to be the
Right.
case.
And-
And I won't say ever, but it's
No.
not going to be the case in the foreseeable future.
No. And that's where, again, that's why we stress we have to be very careful as we're operating within the system, because there aren't those triggers. And again, like Eli said, we don't know that there will be in the future.
No.
We can't say it never will be. We can't say definitely it won't be.
Mhm.
But we don't know that that's even an item that Fiscal is looking at. So again, great opportunity to make sure that you're paying attention to all of the things you're entering within Fiscal, because like you're right, it doesn't throw up anything like that. If
No,
you're over
there's
a dollar threshold and you incorrectly say fair and reasonable,
Yeah. There's a plethora of ways to get yourself into trouble.
yes.
Unfortunately, the system is so transparent and
It
so
is.
expansive that we can do a whole bunch of things within the system, and government
Yeah.
policy guides us as to what we can and can't do. Just because the software lets us do something doesn't mean you can.
Right.
It's kind of something I think we both say in our classes respectively. So.
We do, and that's why we would love to see people in class to get a refresher on those policies. We get it. It would be great for the system to be able to do those things for us, because I think it would be helpful. It'll make sure and keep us as buyers accountable as well. But again,
What? Accountability instead of procurement?
I know,
Who
but
would've thunk
again,
it?
it's future functionality that we can't speak to. But great question. And as you look at these types of questions, that's where coming to our classes will be beneficial. That's why we're going to be rolling out with class offerings as much as we can, so that hopefully if a class is full by the time you go to register, you'll have another opportunity to do so. But again, like we always say, when you register for a class, we have no way of knowing whether you've gone through all of your departmental approval processes to attend a class like ours. So make sure you're checking with your supervisor and or training coordinator as you register and try to attend our classes. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can tell you to do, because our system, again, is just a system, and it does not forward to your supervisor for you to approve, for them to approve before your registration becomes complete in our system.
Exactly.
Okay. And then I know this has been a question for us as well. When we have multiple sessions, we're proud that we're going to be offering a bunch of different webinars and a lot of class offerings. If it is a webinar, you'll notice that it is oftentimes maybe a 3-day session, 3 mornings. What if you can't attend one of those mornings? What if you...
Yeah, and that's definitely a question we get is,
Yes.
okay, well, I just can't make that Thursday, or I can do everything but the last hour of this one.
Yes.
It's an all or none. All right,
So-
that should be familiar for a few people.
Yes,
all or none.
So double check those dates when we put them out. If it's a multiple session class, make sure you can attend all sessions before you register. If you can't attend all sessions, maybe it behooves you to kind of wait to see when the next one is offering. Maybe the dates will work better for you, your schedule, your supervisor may approve it. So we want to put that out there because our classes, unlike the UPKs and these webinars that we've been offering, are certificated. So your certificate and certificate of completion is dependent on a few things: your attendance to all sessions, participation, as well as the final exam. So unless you're able to do all three,
no bueno. So there's no catch-up sessions, there's no waiting lists. I know that we mentioned it, but please, don't just go registering for a class unless you have permission from your supervisor. I mean, departments lay out their training policy and the approval for various trainings pretty clearly. Okay, you've got to follow those. We're not here to circumvent that in any way.
No.
The TRS will let you, as the student, register for whatever class you can get into. That doesn't mean your management is going to approve it.
Correct. So you want to go through all that process before you even go in and register. Because again, your registration doesn't get booted over to your manager and then they approve it, and then it's when your registration completes. Once you register, you're registered for the course.
Yeah, and one of the questions in the help desk this week was, I registered, does that mean I'm actually in the class? Absolutely it does.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things with the system is that we let you register as students. So once you click on the register and it says you're registered for the class, you're in. So if you haven't got the approvals, that's now on you. Unfortunately, the way we've handled classes is there's no way for us to step in and intervene on behalf of your supervisor.
No.
So don't be that example, the rogues gallery. We do get supervisors asking us, okay, why did this person sign up? Well, because they can.
Because they can.
And then it's going to be back on you.
Yes. So I know we're kind of coming towards a little over 15 minutes, and we still got some things to talk about. So we're quickly going to go over. There's a variety of courses you can sign up for, subscribe for. One of those courses that we're going to be offering actually next week is acquisitions under 5,000. So if you've taken it before, you want a refresher, you're new to state procurement, and you need to get some basic knowledge as quickly as possible, this is going to be a great course. If you've already registered, you should be getting more information forthcoming regarding the GoToWebinar links, all of that information. If you haven't yet registered, please do so as quickly as possible.
It's going to be fun. There's definitely seats left. The beauty of webinars, and this is some feedback that we had, because it's been so long since we did a class for the fundamental core curriculum. We call them core curriculums, right? So because it's been so long, a lot of people want us to max out on the webinars first, because on the in-person classes, we're tap out at like 36.
Right.
Whereas, we can do several hundred at a time for every webinar.
Which it looks like we'll be doing next week.
Yes, already. But there is still space.
There is. And it allows you to actually...
We don't provide the popcorn.
No, we don't. So you're going to have to bring your own popcorn, bring your own drinks. We'd love, for you to make sure to get comfy, because we're going to go over a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and because it is a certificated course.
Yes.
We've had some queries about people using like one login or one computer in a conference room. And unfortunately, the nature of our webinars is that there are exercises, questions, there's polls. So it really is the only way to get maximum benefit, and to ensure that you each get the certificate is if you've all got your own workstation.
Right, because you're gonna at the end you're gonna be provided a final exam that you're gonna have to complete, and it's gonna be very student login specific. So unless you specifically have that login, you're not gonna get that final exam, which means no certificate. You don't want to spend 3 mornings with us and not get that pretty certificate to show on your.
Well, that's not all we are.
That's not all we are, but...
I mean, you do want to spend mornings with us.
You
We're
do,
great people.
because we're for fun. We want to see you in class.
I don't know about you sometimes.
Oh, I'm fun too.
Depends on if you've had enough coffee.
Now that I do agree with.
I resemble that comment. All right, so moving on, because we are going to be pressed for time. We keep getting sidetracked, all right? So...
But we do want to cover this section that we like, which is This Week in Fiscal. It gives us the opportunity to communicate little things that we want to make sure we reiterate. And especially because this is going to be our last offering for these Fiscal related webinars, so we want to touch on these things before we move on to our core curriculum of offerings. Some tips and tricks.
Alrighty, so how to really search. Whenever you're in Fiscal and you see a magnifying glass, you're going to click on that magnifying glass. It's going to give you a pop-up window of all the options available to you. Sometimes all, sometimes not all.
So much.
But either way, almost every single one of those pop-ups is going to have a search function at the top. It's going to have, search. It'll have a little drop-down menu, and then the field. So whether it's description or a number or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
The system automatically populates that drop-down box with begins with. Horrible idea. Horrible. We requested that it gets changed to contains. They said, that sounds like a great idea, we're not going to do it. So what you need to be aware of is that drop-down has the word contains in it as an option. Much more robust search function. Okay, you can say if you're looking for redwood posts, you can, when you're in the Unspsc code category lookup, you can do the description, contains, redwood, and then do your lookup. It'll give you every available option that has redwood in the name.
More successful search, definitely.
Exactly. And one of the other things is that all of the Unspsc codes are in the system, not like in BidSync, where some codes weren't there. So really do utilize the search. That's the same with all the specific approaches, the acquisition methods.
Yes.
Okay, you can search for exactly what you need, and that's exactly what you should be doing.
Yes. And the second one, you always say the back button, it's not your friend.
The back button is not your friend. Bad news bears time. If you hit the back button whilst you're in Fiscal, the software doesn't work correctly.
No.
I don't know as they even understand why. But within Fiscal, when you're on a Fiscal page, there should always be links heading back to where you were, take you back where you came from.
Yes.
In a nice way. But if you use the back button on your internet browser, then the frames don't refresh correctly. And you're going to end up, the software's not going to work correctly, it's not going to be as responsive as you require it to be, and it also won't actually take you back to where you wanted to be.
Which means you're going to lose all your work.
Sometimes you will lose all your work. If you haven't saved recently, you're going to lose all that work. Yeah, like I said.
That's bad news bears time.
It
totally.
is. It
totally.
is. Depression train.
Yes.
Ticket for one.
Ticket for one, definitely. So we want to make sure you understand. Use those navigations. Do not use that back button.
Yeah.
You don't want to do all this work and then not be able to move on from that work and have to recreate it. The other thing is bookmarking. Bookmarking is useless. If there's a save and continue function, you're going to have to save and continue and then go back and look for either your event ID or whatnot. Similarly, if you are doing skippers and progress payments, there is no save and continue. So I would highly recommend, unless you have the time to finish it from start to finish, don't even do it. Make sure you have that time, because you're going to lose a lot of work.
Yeah, so one of the things that came up during one of your skippers classes a week or two ago, okay, well, why can't I just save a dummy skippers record and come back and edit it later? Save and return, save and return. And one of the things that you have to be aware of is the transparency of the system, transparency of the software. If you're putting in a dummy record in something like a skippers, which is where you're registering a purchase, what happens if someone runs a report and assumes that that dummy is actually a genuine live purchase?
No bueno.
All right, you don't want that to be the case.
No.
Okay, it sets up a lot of issues. I wouldn't say it would result in an audit finding, but it will cause greater scrutiny.
Yes.
And that's something that I think if you can avoid, you probably want to avoid.
Yes. And the thing is, remember, one of the tenets in Fiscal is transparency. So
over and over again.
You're not going to be able to delete anything. Nothing really goes away in the system. All it is creating new versions, creating amendments, creating an edited version of it. That original version is still going to exist.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of the internet.
Yeah.
The site is hosted on the internet, the information is hosted on servers, everything is out there for the public, basically. It's like your dirty laundry. Just because you delete a Facebook post doesn't mean someone didn't take a screenshot of it.
Totally.
So it's truly a transparent system.
Yeah.
And it's there for a reason.
Correct. Because we want to be transparent to the public.
Exactly. We want to generate more of that public trust.
Exactly.
The only way that's going to happen is via complete transparency, which has implications for us as buyers, comparative to what we
Yes.
were used to.
So just be aware, creating dummies is not the way to go. When you're doing a skipper's entry or a CSCR entry, what you might want to do is save it. If you can go in and search for it and find it, chances are you've done what you needed to do. You can double check yourself. When it comes to CSCR, you can do a public search as long as you've made that event public.
Yep,
You
it
can
should
do
be
a
there.
you can do a public search for it within Cal eProcure, and see exactly what the bidders would see. Then if you notice something that's not right, if you notice something that you need to change, you can go in and do that as a version. You might want to take a 3 o'clock class if you're kind of confused as to what a version is.
I don't break out into a Madonna song, don't worry.
No. But you can then look at exactly what the bidders are going to see.
Exactly. Yeah, and one of the other things, when it comes to the skippers functionality, when you've completed your skippers entry, unlike BidSync, there's no pretty summary page that you can go back and find and print. It'll have basically broken down as a line.
Yes.
So you'll see your entry as a line, which
it's a little bit different.
it is going to be different. So that's going to have an implication for you in terms of printing a record of it for your procurement file. I know a lot of departments say you have to print the skipper's record, but with the EP number going away, maybe as the SCM is being revised, it might be time for some departments to revise some policies. I don't know. It's up to them.
That's up
We're
to
not going
them.
to tell you what to do.
But just be
Sometimes-
aware.
sometimes we
But
do
just
what
be
to do.
aware, things may have changed. So we're going to keep on going because I know there's some things that Eli wanted to talk about with CSCR, and then I want to talk about some things about skippers. So what is this about event names and Q&A and bidders lists?
So when it comes to CSCRs, California State Contracts Register, so basically our advertising, whenever we advertise a solicitation, okay? So I know that some of us are going to be brand new, others are going to be doing this for a while, so you know what I'm talking about, others may not. So event names. Within Fiscal, the worst mistake I've seen on a CSCR is that the event name is horrible. You're just putting in a requisition number or a contract number, whatever the case may be. You need to put some key terms in your event name. That field, when you go through the setup process for each event, and remember, event within Fiscal just means a solicitation, solicitation advertising. So the event name is 254 characters long. Okay, it's a single bar that's longer than a tweet. You can put in key terms, and you need to do so. They've got to be at the start of that field. And if your department has mandated that you put in a requisition number or a contract number, you've got to put that at the end. Put it at the end of the field. Okay, because otherwise, vendors, bidders, the public, they're going to type in event name. Well, I want to look for solar cells. So they'll put in solar cells, and nothing's going to come up. Your opportunity, your bidding opportunity, will not populate to that list. You've got to be conscious that the event name needs to contain keywords first, and so as your bidders can find the event.
Because we want competition.
Because I've tested that search function, and if you're not putting in key terms, it doesn't populate up very well. There's also been some times where there'll be a contract number at the start, key terms at the end, and it didn't find all of those, even though the key term was there. So I don't want you suffering because the search function isn't robust. We've seen that elsewhere on the Fiscal side. When you go into the Cal FAQs side, it becomes more and more evident. One of the other things, Q&As.
Yes.
Question and answer sessions within BidSync were relatively straightforward. Okay, unfortunately, that is not the case within Fiscal currently with the current rollout of functionality. Should see that change in about 6 months when they fix the functionality, because it wasn't working properly, and the state doesn't roll out anything that's not working 100%. So what do we do between now and then? Question and answers, those sessions have to be held outside of Fiscal, whether it's by a in-person bidder conference, whether it's via email, whatever the case may be. You're going to create your Q&A document listing out all of the questions and the answers that you gave. And for the benefit of everyone, you're going to have to create a version of your event and then upload that attachment to the version, then get that approved. And I cover that in today's class. So if you have no idea what I just said, then you need to register for
3 p.m. 3 p.m. And the bidders list. So I know we've gotten a lot of questions about this. So in the past we've been able to see who viewed it,
Mm-hmm.
who's downloaded it,
Mm-hmm.
but we found out
Mm-mm.
not gonna happen.
So
right?
not going to happen. There's no intention for this functionality to come back. What we're dealing with here is transparency gone wild. So someone call its parents. The main function that is missing when it comes to a bidders list is that Fiscal doesn't require you to log in. If you've made your event public, then you don't have to be logged in or registered or anyone of importance. You don't even have to really be a bidder to go in and view and download the event details.
Which is why it would not be reflective if you even had the ability to view all that information, right?
No, because they would only be able to capture it from those who had registered. We're not the NSA. We're not going to do it by IP address and then reverse look you up. That's just not where the
Not
state of
gonna happen?
California is going.
Not gonna happen?
No. Once again, never say never. But hopefully by then I have been extradited, so I won't ever have to deal with that. But no, it's not going to happen. There's no way within the current functionality of Fiscal that you will get a bidders list that will be comprehensive. Now I know that that's going to have implications for some
Yes.
departments. Some departments are saying, okay, well my purchase right here, I hand it off to say OLS for instance, and I need to have that bidders list. Show me who viewed it and downloaded it as justification for awarding to a single vendor, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
All right, maybe they want to see all the vendors, even if you have 3 responsive and responsible bidders.
Right.
Okay, that's going to have to be a shift over department policy and government code, perhaps, as we all
Perhaps.
adapt to the world of Fiscal.
Yes. And we just have to make sure we understand what Fiscal will and will not do. So that's why we bring this tidbit up.
Yep.
The other thing I want to cover is at the Fiscal forum they talked about expanded roles. Be on the lookout for this in the future. I'm not saying it's happening tomorrow. In the future.
In the future.
So be on the lookout for that. There's a lot of roles within Fiscal, so they're looking at how to group the roles a little bit better, maybe where it makes sense to have super roles. So be on the lookout for that. We don't have any more information than what we're saying right now.
Yeah.
We just know it may be happening in the near future, so just be on the lookout.
Yeah.
When it comes to DBAs, and I'm only going through this quickly because I know everyone has things to do. It's Friday. There is no way to search for DBAs. You are going to do vendor searches. Again, using that contains function may give you more successful search. So make sure you're doing that because you're not going to be able to search for doing business as.
No,
You
it's
may
going to
be
be
able
legal name only, and that's if you are struggling to find a vendor and you're almost certain that they're in there, you need to contact the vendor management unit.
And figure out if they're listed under a parent company
a parent
or something.
company, a different name.
Yeah.
We've seen it ourselves that it's in under the DBA instead of the legal name, or it's in under the legal name, but they
Instead-
only ever tell you
yeah.
about their DBA. Horrible
seen it
situation. It'll keep continuing.
Yeah.
Utilize the vendor management unit.
Yes, that's what they're there for. They're making sure that all of the vendor management files are correct, that there are no duplicates, but they may be able to best direct you.
Okay.
Skippers.
Come on! I'm trying to keep on
know.
time here.
Oh, hi Kimberly.
One quick question.
Yes.
Is there a recommended key list of terms to use for the event name?
Ooh, good
Ooh,
one.
Snapple. So look, when it comes to doing your market research, your due diligence as a buyer, one of the things I would say when you're trying to populate that key terms is most of us have already looked up what it is we're purchasing. Most of us will already know, okay, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. You're going to have a really good understanding of your purchase prior to figuring out if you need to advertise it or not. Part of that market research should probably now contain looking up the Unspsc code, finding the one that matches as closely as possible, and utilizing that as part of your key terms. Because the system's
suggestion.
going to base your solicitation, when you make it public, the system looks at the Unspsc codes that you've provided and it matches it to any profiles of vendors within the Cal Procure system that have that Unspsc code. It's kind of pairing you up with possible vendors and it's giving them a little nudge. So it'll say system notification. It basically flags it and says, you should check this out, this might be really good for you. Good feeling, it's a good vibe. So if it's a good match like that via the UNSPSC code, then that's what they're going to be looking for as well. They're going to know what their UNSPSC codes are, so they're probably going to be typing in those kind of key terms. Now you want to make it logical, all right? HVAC is HVAC, all right?
That
Maintenance
seems
is
logical.
maintenance. You know, reupholstery of furniture, then you're going to reupholster furniture. You want to make sure that it makes sense. Now, if your UNSPSC category description doesn't make sense, pick something that's logical and close. But in terms of a downloadable list for you to keep in your desk manual, no, there is not one. I would suggest utilizing the UNSPSC category names that best apply, but you've got to apply some logic to that as well.
Yeah. Make sure it's
use your common
searchable.
sense filter within your HID, and make sure that the vending community are able to understand it, which we know is sometimes a little bit different to common sense.
And make sure that your vendors are able to search for it. I think that's the biggest thing. Make sure you're using terms that make sense that the vendors would use to search for your
254 characters. Come on, people. If you can tweet a title, because you've got the ability to describe it underneath, right? Use those two together. You'll be fine.
Definitely. Good question, though. In terms of skippers, just want to remind everybody, line item reporting, you're going to be reporting line by line. I know that it's a bit of workload when you're talking about POs that are 50, 100, 150 line items. So make sure you're doing that. And when it comes to multiple billing codes, we do know that the system does recognize that a PO number already exists. You may have to do some finagling. If you are having a PO that has multiple billing codes, please email us at the Cal PCA Help Desk, because we can give you further direction. We're trying to meet with Fiscal people and our policy people, make sure we are giving best direction, but realize that most of you don't even, your departments don't even allow you to do a PO with multiple billing codes. So this may not apply to you. But if you do, if you're one of those departments that allow you to use multiple billing codes,
which is fine, no judgment.
No judgment. We get it. Your system allows you to do it, but we want to provide you the best direction. As for the bulletin, the biggest thing I want you to understand, if you're doing amendments of your skipper's entries within BidSync, today is the last day to do those in BidSync. Today. So make sure you're following the bulletin, because if you do have those skipper's entries in BidSync that you need to amend, do those today, because as of Monday, you're going to need to be doing amendments in all skippers activity within Fiscal. There's going to be you're going to have to figure out a way to do it if you just missed the deadline and you're amending your skipper's entry next week. But make sure you do those today. All of the information is in that bulletin. The bulletin is attached to today's webinar, so please make use of that. Again, UNSPSC codes, make use of them. Eli said that there's a whole bunch of them. The codes go.
I said there's all of them.
All of
we
them.
were told there's all of them in the Fiscal system.
So it goes up to 12 digits, so you can get as specific as possible. So when it comes to even your CSCR, your skippers, this UNSPSC codes allows us to report more robustly when it comes to skippers, because we're able to get pretty specific as to what we're buying and what we've bought. When it comes to CSCR, like Eli said, that's how your bidders are going to get notified. So make use of the UNSPSC codes. Also be aware, EPP SABRC reporting is going to be done within skippers. So this only helps you because if you have specific lines and you have EPP reporting, you will be able to do that within skippers in Fiscal. So, I know.
All of that information getting captured for you sounds too good to be true, right?
Sounds way too good to be true, but it's true.
It's true. It's so true.
And then, of course, billing codes, if there's more than one, like I said, please contact Cal PCA Help. We want to make sure to keep you posted on the best direction, best practice.
Yes. All right, so we went over time a little bit. It'll happen. We kind of had a bit of a delay at the start, so we apologize for that. If you do have any questions, feel free to submit them now. But we're done. I brought cookies.
Oh, you brought cookies. Yay.
So there you go. Have some cookies. Have some.
If you already haven't had breakfast of champions.
Oh, the grab. So look, hopefully you've had your questions responded to by Kimberly, and who has deserved a cookie, by the way.
She
And
really has.
if you have other questions that you've got to go somewhere right now, we know we went over time, so some of us have to bounce and skedaddle for a different
These are really good, by the
calendar
way.
class. Yeah, they really are. I know. I'm not going to claim to that. That's my wife's. So the main thing is we want to make sure you get to ask your questions. We want to make sure we get you the perfect answer. And if that means contacting Cal PCA Help Desk, then please do so. Cal PCA Help at dgs.ca.gov.
And we hope you like this format. We hope it provides you the information you need in a quick, down and dirty format. So be on the lookout for Fiduciary Fridays, something similar to this, where we can really provide you information. You have a forum to get your questions answered or get best direction on something that's happened this week. So be on the lookout for that. Again, we're winding down on these Fiscal-related webinars. That does not mean you won't have Fiscal-related questions. So we understand that. Again, you have the resources. We hope to see you in class, because I think this is a great opportunity for everyone to get refamiliarized with policy. And now that now that we can go back to core curriculum, we'll be able to get back to what Cal PCA does, which is make sure we teach the policy.
Yeah, right. And as we mentioned, there is that opportunity to do acquisitions under 5 next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's 9 till 12.
9 to 12.
In the morning, 4 hours a day. You need to be there for all 3 days to gain the certificate. So if that next week doesn't work for you, we will be offering more classes as we move forward. So we hope to make an announcement when it comes to calendars and some other pretty cool changes in terms of access for you as a buyer to this kind of information. We will be continuing this kind of format in terms of kind of an all-encompassing Friday session, but it's not going to be happening right now.
No, but be on the lookout for it, as well as
I have a date with a cookie and a coffee.
I know, right? But also be on the lookout for our future offering of courses. We look forward to seeing you in one of our classes. We're going to enjoy cookies, so keep those questions coming in. We might just leave the webinar open just for a few more minutes for those last minute questions. So please get those in. If you don't have the ability to do that right now, if you think of something on your way home, over the weekend, on your way into work on Monday, make sure you utilize the Cal PCA Help Desk, okay?
Yeah. Do we set up a survey for this one?
We did.
All right. If you do stick around over the next couple of minutes, I'll probably end it in about 2 minutes, depending on how many questions we get. If there's a flood, I'll leave it open a little bit longer. But if you have the ability to stick around to the end, we'll have like a three question survey for you, just to provide us some feedback. Obviously, Cal PCA loves your feedback. Thrive on feedback, makes us better. So, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the weekend. We look forward to seeing you either online or in class in the very near future.
Have a happy Friday. And I'm going to enjoy a cookie.
You're going to enjoy cooking? I'm going to enjoy cooking. Very good.
That's what we're going to do.